I'd like to ask each of our panelists in a row to give their own response to what they think is now needed for the post-COVID era. If there is a new paradigm needed, why is it needed? What's it going to do? What's wrong with the current one?
What I took out of the statements made by the students who are part of the forum is that they are looking for a politics of hope. And I believe that we have got to give people some hope that 2021 can be better than 2020. And while in 2020, the national responses to the virus were unprecedented, the international response was unprecedentedly bad. And 2021 must be a different year. And that's what I want to home in on with two proposals. It cannot be right that the vaccine is only going to be distributed to some people across the world, and we don't have a plan to get it to as many people as possible. We really do need to up our game for a plan for both vaccination and the provision of vital medical equipment. But the second area is a global growth plan. I believe the G20 should meet early in this new year. I think President Biden is in a position to ask for it to be convened. It would be under the Italian presidency, which I think is a very good thing. And it's got to do two things. It's got to have a coordination of fiscal policy that will maximize the growth that is possible across the world, as happened in 2009-10. But at the same time, what was missing in this plan is a plan for the poorer, the lower and middle income countries of the world, where they have been able to borrow. Quantitative easing has been possible in some countries, but fiscal intervention has been limited. And at the same time, they're building up a large amount of debt that will have to be dealt with at some stage.
I agree very much with what Gordon says, and I certainly think it can be achieved with the right political will. And I think there are three principles that really have to guide us. The first is we need to provide minimum security for all. The second is that we need maximum investment in capability. And the third is that we need to share risks more fairly and efficiently in the world.
One of the things that distinguishes the countries that have handled this relatively well, compared to those who've handled it badly, has been the level of social trust. It turns out to be a great differentiator. It's not something created by policies. It's not something you can turn on like a switch in a crisis, but it counts. Nationally, I think there's a real opportunity almost everywhere you look in the world to reinvest in public goods. It's about public school systems. It's about cheap and fast broadband access for the public, including those in rural areas and large countries. And it's about R&D investment in cleaner energies and the circular economy.
Many of the things that we are grappling with are trends that were happening anyway. The big shift in global geopolitics, in the global economy, climate, demographics, technology. What COVID has done is exacerbated or at least accelerated all of those things. And so in one sense, therefore, just accelerates our task to devise an international system that works for this age.
So far as our bank is concerned, as you see, our mandate is to promote sustainable development through investment in infrastructure. Other productive sectors, in my view, covers also social infrastructure, including education and healthcare. But this area seems to be neglected, and the pandemic has laid bare the most vulnerable link on the global production chain, economic chain.
Who should be taking the lead? Let me appeal to young people. They should be taking the lead, because they will be paying off the debts we are accumulating now. They will be living with the consequences of the climate change. You young people have the power to change the political discourse. You have the power to change decisions. So, go out there, vote, and get your friends to vote.
There's a significant scope for cooperation internationally that actually boosts national interests through moving into more efficient activities, but also allows for greater equality internationally. It's fundamentally about repurposing the state and going about its core tasks with the spirit of activism.
Gordon Brown said at the very beginning, the national response has been robust, the international response has been weak. And I think it has been particularly weak when it comes to making sure that sufficient resources are channeled to low-income countries and also to emerging countries, many of whom have been cut off from international capital markets as a result of the pandemic and may remain cut off for a long time. So they may have the list of the things that they need to do, but they may not have the money with which to do them. And I think that would be a tragedy, not only for economic growth, but for livelihoods, for lives, for health, and for the general quality of life on the planet.
Thank you all again for taking part, and thank you for attending. Thank you very much indeed.